Hey guys, my name's Justin and welcome to Healthboro, where we care about the design behind designer luxury. And if you do too, make sure to subscribe. So for today's video, I wanted to talk about something that I definitely deal with this, and I know there are a lot of other people out there who deal with this, especially if you're, new to luxury shopping. Hi, my name's Justin, and I have anxiety.
Hi, Justin.
I don't know about you, but especially when I was younger and maybe didn't have the money, but I still wanted to look at stuff, I always felt super nervous going into these stores. I think you'll see other people's videos talking about this is what you should wear and this is how you should act. And for me, it's not like it's necessarily bad advice. I mean, I think some of it is bad advice because it literally doesn't matter. But for me to act differently or try to be perceived in a different way, I would immediately get imposter syndrome and be like, oh, they know that I am lying. You know what I mean? That is not for me. So I wanted to bring it in a bit more of a, maybe you can shift your mindset when thinking about these kinds of things, or I do have some tips on how to cope with those ideas that some of these other people bring up and kind of become things to think about, which you shouldn't really, I don't know. But I think, let's just get started and you'll see. The first tip that I wanted to say is the first because it is the most important. And that is, you do not have to buy anything. Despite what maybe influencers say or what these sales associates are gonna try and get you to do, you don't need to spend money. It's a store. It's like any other store. You can go in, you can look around, you can touch things, try things on without spending a dime. And you can still get your luxury experience if that's what you're looking for. And one thing that I think is good to remember is that even the nicest essays, and sometimes specifically the nicest essays, are trying to get you to spend money. So for you, this means that you have control over your wallet. You have full control over your wallet. When you walk into these stores, there's no one who's gonna kick you out because you aren't spending any money. It's a store. You can be there. Literally, you don't have to buy anything. Just remember that. And then tip number 2 kind of builds off the last one, and that is set 2 budgets. So that idea is to have one that is your goal spending budget, one that, you can tell your essay if you want to, but keep that the main one in your mind, and then set your max spend. So when you have your max spend, maybe it's a little bit or maybe it's even a lot of it, more than what your goal budget is. I do this so that I can ground myself so I don't have to worry about actually overspending. It's kind of lying to yourself where it's you have this number that you like, but you're willing to go up to this much. I think a lot of people do this, but I think it's not often done within this luxury setting, or at least people don't really talk about it from the videos that I've seen. I don't know, I could also be lying. But that's the thing, you're kind of lying to yourself, so you have these 2 numbers, and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I'm gonna spend, but then you keep in the back of your mind another okay number, so that if you see something perfect, it's okay. One of the reasons why I say to do this is because if you have a max spend and that's one that you tell your sales associate, that is the number that they're going to hear, and that's the one that they will be able to get you to. This actually kind of goes hand in hand with the first tip, because when I was just shopping in Loewe in New York, my goal budget was actually to spend nothing. But then I was like, oh, if I see something nice that's a couple $100s or whatever, that's just some little thing, that's okay. But I went in and I had my experience, and I browsed a lot, tried on a bunch of different things. I even tried on $800 pants or something like that, fully knowing that I wasn't going to buy them at all. But I was like, oh yeah, these are cute, these are nice. My goal budget was 0, but then we were talking about some of the little charms, and I actually had a bag that would have looked great with one of those charms. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it, because I already had in my mind I can spend $100 or something, and the charm was only I don't know, $50 or something like that, some tiny number that was okay for me to spend at the time. So what this means is basically you are able to free up a little bit of that I don't know about you, but when my anxiety is off the charts, I have it feels like there's a little marble pinging around in my head. This helps relieve some of those obstacles because it gives you some flexibility. Like I said, it's kind of lying to yourself, oh yeah, I want to spend this much when you can go up to there. But it gives you a base point and a certain amount of flexibility in both directions to spend money, and then also create those boundaries so that if it is over this amount, you already are going past your max spend because you already had your base goal of whatever your budget is. So then creating these boundaries for yourself lets you just like, I don't know, it makes my marble just like spin around instead of like ping around. Alright, so let's jump away from talking about budget. For tip number 3, I want to say, don't worry about dressing fancy. I've seen literally dozens of videos where it's like, this is how you should dress. Make sure you're wearing the brand, or like, make sure you're wearing other brands, or like, make sure your like outfit equals at least this many thousands of, like, are you for real? People literally do not care about that. Your sales associates do not care about that. They will just see someone who potentially they can make money off of. Of course, don't go in like, I don't know, stinking or whatever, but like go in there dressing comfortably. Honestly, some of the best service I've ever gotten at a luxury store was when I was wearing sweats and a hoodie. As long as you still look like put together and like not like dirty and disheveled. Although, like, honestly, you could probably even look a little bit dirty and people would be like, oh, this person's definitely rich, because, I don't know, I feel like a lot of rich people are dirty. Anyways, but basically, when it comes to, like, what you're wearing, no matter what, you belong there. If you want to look at something, or you want to try something on, or you want to buy something, you belong there. It's a store. It is open to people. It doesn't matter what you're wearing, as long as you're comfortable, and then you being as comfortable as you are, and knowing like, no, I am supposed to be here. That's all you need to know. Anyways, let's move on to the next the next tip. So for tip number 4, this is kind of in contrast to the last one. If you want to dress nice and make it an event, then dress nice. Do it for you. Do what you want to do. So a quick example is when I went to the Loewe in Barcelona, I was like, oh, this is like the Loewe day. And this is where I was like, I have my budget and I have my max spend, whatever. I came in fully prepared, like mentally for it. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna wear something nice. I came in wearing my Soot Sprite puzzle and I wore one of the layered t-shirts from Spring Summer 21 from the men's runway or whatever, where it's like you've seen it. It has like the, you've seen it. It's like the pink shirt with the white and then the brown on the back, like that guy. Right? And I wore that and I just wore like whatever jeans because I only packed a couple of pants since it was just a weekend trip. But like when I was there, like I wanted it to be a fun little event. I just wore it for me. But then I ended up like getting compliments on my bag from my sales associate because, you know, they want to connect with you and they want you to like feel like comfortable and things like that. And then another sales associate who wasn't even connected to me, she just like walked by and she was like, I wish I got that shirt for myself. Like she saw like the layered shirt, she was like, I love it so much. But then basically it comes back to like intent. Like if you're wearing overly branded things because you want like the sales associate to know you like have a lot of this brand or whatever, but then like if you think of it this way, oftentimes like the like super branded in a like kind of a basic way, not in like the logomania way, those kinds of pieces are often the most like affordable things from a luxury store anyways. So like if that's what you're trying to give off, I would say focus more on just being stylish in your own way and dressing in a way that is fun but is still you. As long as you are being true to yourself in the way that you dress, no matter how crazy you're dressed or how like fancy you're dressed, if you're having fun because you wanted to make it this big thing, there's no wrong way to dress. You can wear like, you know, a insane like Issey Miyake like super sculptural piece or whatever when you're going to like Louis Vuitton just because like you wanted to wear something nice. It doesn't have to match a brand. As long as you're doing it for yourself, you're having fun, you're doing it for yourself. Enjoy it, you know, take a picture, who cares? And then my next tip, number 5, lower your expectations. Through social media, we see like, oh, I got brought into this VIP room, or oh, we got offered champagne and like Danishes, or I don't know, whatever they offer. You know what I mean? Like, oh, and then we spent like 2 hours there doing whatever. Literally, it's shopping. It's spending money. If that's what you want to spend a long time just like looking around and touching stuff, getting like champagne or whatever, and that's like one of your dreams, go for it. They will offer it for you, or you can even just ask for it. But like, getting champagne for free is not the big deal that all these influencers make it seem like it is. Not that like spending that much money isn't a big deal, because it is. It kind of goes back to the whole idea of like, you're so caught up in trying to live up to a certain level that you've seen in social media that even if you have like a nice experience compared to like what you've built up in your mind, you know, it might fall flat. So then for you, talking about like lowering expectations, I think a lot of it comes back to like not setting yourself up to be disappointed. And I know it's kind of like a sad way to think about it, but it's also like a safe way to think about it because there is no guarantee when it comes to luxury shopping that you're going to be treated in a specific way depending on the brand you're at, the SA you have, and the location that you're at. If you just go in with like base level expectations of receiving decent customer service, looking at some things that you like and maybe even buying something, then that is like one way that you can get yourself into a mindset and then potentially be pleasantly surprised. And then tip number 6, and I was hinting at it a little bit with tip number 5, but tip number 6 is you do not need to spend hours in a boutique to get what you want or to have a good time. Yes, a lot of people love to schmooze and hang around and be in these boutiques for like hours on end, sipping champagne, talking to people, basically like, I don't know, like live there. But like for me, especially me as someone who does not like to be perceived, I want to be in and out with or without whatever I purchase, like, or empty-handed is also good too. 20 to 30 minutes. I am not the kind of person who needs to be somewhere in public in that kind of setting. Like that's just not me. And you don't need to do that either if that makes you uncomfortable. You can still have enough time to look at all the things that you want to, try things on, and still be in and out 30 minutes. Totally doable. And honestly, I feel like a little cooler than everyone else who's like just chilling there, because like in a way, like when they're doing that, it's almost like, oh yes, I make this like a full like event for me. But then for me, it's like, yeah, of course I'm just gonna go in and go out, buy whatever I want, and then get out. And that like makes me feel cool for some reason, because it's almost like, yeah, this is just a normal thing for me. Does that make sense? Part of it is like, oh yeah, of course, like for super rich people, this is just like shopping at the Gap. But then obviously for me, this is not. But then it like, I feel like it gives that energy. When I was actually buying this beauty, by the way, I just did an unboxing of this guy. I'll link it in the corner if you haven't seen it. So I went to the Loewe in Barcelona and I walked in just browsing. I wasn't really expecting to buy anything, so in that situation my goal budget was like 0, maybe a couple hundred if I saw like a little thing I wanted. But then I had like a larger budget in case I saw something nice. Since I knew it was a flagship, I was like keeping it casual with like the sales associate, and he brought this bag out. First thing I did was like, how much is it? I heard a number that I liked, and I was like, okay, I'm taking it. And then he was like, okay, I will get this wrapped up for you. And I was like, I'm just gonna browse really quickly upstairs, whatever. And then I tried on some other things, but that didn't take more than like 15 more minutes. But basically I bought or decided to buy a bag in like 5 minutes. So the whole total experience of me being in the store to get this, 35 minutes, maybe 40, including just like the dressing room part of it. I still had a great time. I still got offered a beverage. I ended up just taking water because I didn't feel like having champagne in the middle of the day. Made my purchase. I still connected with my SA. I got all of his contact info. He still gave me like a little extra gift, and I was out of there. Like, you can still have these like luxury experiences within like a reasonable time frame. You don't need to plan your whole day around it. So basically when you think about this tip, it really is about like, if you feel uncomfortable being outside in public, or like even just like in public in these specific types of spaces, know that it's fully okay to just go in and out, and you can still have a really great experience, and honestly, you'll probably look cooler than like everyone else there, so. Alright, so for tip number 7, it's go in with a plan. So if you walk into a luxury store, of course, their goal is to like introduce you to things that maybe you didn't realize you wanted, or in some cases you don't even want, but like they convince you that you want it. But if you go in with a plan, that's one way you can secure that you can get in and get the thing that you want. And then through that process, if you're very direct about what you want, that really also helps cut down with the schmoozing and the small talk, especially if you have a specific SA who's very pushy and things like that. If you already know what you want to see, then you can just kind of get in, get out, especially if you didn't want to take the time to look at a lot of other things. It might even just be situational, because like maybe you did want to spend some time, but because the essay is a bit pushy, you can just focus on that one thing. One of the things too is you can also tell your sales associate, like, I'm looking to spend X amount of time, or I don't want to spend too long in here, but I do want to get XYZ, and then they'll make sure your needs are met. In giving this tip, I'm think back to my Gucci experience in Milan, and I didn't have like a pushy sales associate or anything. The person I was with, he was super cool and very chill, but like I had a time frame because I was there for work, so this was kind of like a quick stop in between different destinations. I remember going in and being like, "Hi, I want to see your fashion jewelry," because I knew there was a piece that I wanted. I was immediately brought downstairs, shown the piece. I was able to try on a sample piece, and then instantly I was like, "Okay, yep, I want it." Also, I wanted to get this pair of earrings as well, and then it was kind of like all done. I didn't have to like hear about like his story or whatever. Like, not that I wouldn't want to, but I was just in a rush. I was able to kind of like skip all the parts that can be difficult for people, I think, like me, who when I have my anxiety about going to these stores, I don't want to talk. I just want to kind of like do my thing and then get out. And this was a great experience for that because even after I kind of kept it short and sweet, I was still offered to come back and like see the launch of the Adidas Gucci collab. That's a great example of you can still have a relationship with an essay if you just move things along pretty quickly and still get in, get out, but be polite. So then if you have challenges with like anxiety about like time management or something like that, this tip really helps you kind of like put everything into perspective so that you can, own your own time. And then tip number 8 is, again, we have one in direct contrast with the tip from before. Be open. Be open-minded. If you're there to browse, go there and browse. But then that's where like tip 1 goes into. You don't have to buy anything. And then tip 2 about the like goal budget or max spend. Going in with that, with an open mind, can often be very reassuring because then you know you have control over your wallet. And if you see something that you do like, you know what your limits are and if you can be flexible about it. I think if you're there to just browse with the intent on maybe buying something, of course you want to have like some money to play with and a little bit of flexibility. I think it just makes the experience a lot more comfortable because then there's less ideas of stress and you can create your own boundaries right then and there. But then for this tip, I know like if you have that kind of anxiety where like you kind of like need to like be able to control every little piece of like what's going to happen next. I know this is the scariest one, but I promise if you are able to do this, and I'm not saying it's possible for everyone, but if you're able to like combine all those other tips that I have so that you can have a more open experience where you're more open to like whatever it is, I promise you that is one of the ways that you can have the most freeing experiences. Being able to let go of all those like things that you're worrying about, whether it's like time or like being judged, your outfit, whatever, if you can kind of like let that stuff go and just focus on like, yeah, I'm here to shop. I don't know what I want, but let's explore together. I think those have been some of the best experiences I've had in a luxury store. And then tip number 9 is literally such a base level tip. It is like ground floor, but I literally see so few people talking about this. Treat your sales associate like a human being with dignity. I cannot stress enough how often, because I like try to be friendly when I have the energy, like the social energy for it. When I am friendly and I'm able to talk about myself and ask them about like how they are and what their lives are like, that's when I have the best luxury experiences because you're building just a relationship, not with the sales associate, but just with the human being. Basically, this all boils down to like, if you're an anxious person like me and you kind of just want people to like you, of course, you probably have some sort of like coping mechanism built in where it's like, you're nice so that other people are nice. And I will tell you, if you give that kind of energy and the person you're working with, like your essay, isn't a jerk, you will get that energy back because that's kind of all people want when working in the service industry, right? You want that good energy, especially when working in like luxury where they know things take time. It's not like some of the other industries where like they want you in and out. You can spend time to give that energy so that you can get some of that good energy back. Well then, what do all of these tips do for you? I think if you like put together all these little tips that I gave you in ways that work for you, what I'm hoping it will do for you is that it will let you build up a plan to help you feel a little bit more in control of the situation that you're going to put yourself in. And then I think for me, that always helps with my anxiety. Like, in a way, like having an escape plan too, you know? Like, it's like, okay, here's my boundaries. Over that, boom, done. That's it. Like, being able to, like, recognize these kinds of things, I think is super helpful when it comes to putting yourself in a situation where you maybe are uncomfortable or you know you might get uncomfortable. If you use these tips too and they work out for you, let me know. I would love to hear that I was able to help someone with anxiety, just because it's something that I deal with a lot on a day-to-day basis, but also when I like go luxury shopping, even though it's like one of my like huge passions. Everyone deserves to go to these luxury stores, even if you don't want to spend money. You should be able to like look at things and touch things and try things that you find interesting, you know? That is all I have for you today. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. It lets me know that you like this kind of content and that you too care about the design behind designer luxury. Until next time, alright, time for me to stop being perceived. Ooh.